Soulless Brotherhood, Chapter 10. Rose Hill. We continued down the way, going as quickly as we could. The sun started to rise and we made our way towards Wichita. Eventually we hit Andover, and like he said, people started shooting at us. The snapping of the bullets against the steel frightened everybody, the two little girls still in the front cab freaking out and screaming, their father laying over them. I kept trying to tell them, hold on, it'll all be over soon. The little girl would call out, are we going to die? And the dad would have to tell them no. To be honest, I wasn't totally sure we were going to make it out. Trent and Sam tried to poke their heads up, but every time they would, bullets would snap against us. We sped the hell out of there. We could hear the intercom radio from inside the rail car. They were freaking out. What the hell is going on out there? Calloway would call forward. There's bullets bouncing all over. My dad would call out, they're shooting at us. Trevor slammed down on the throttle. The train lurched forward and roared. Soot blew out the top of the engine. We sped down. Eventually we were hitting high speeds for a train. Eventually hit about 70 miles an hour. Finally we were out of Andover. It all ended as fast as it started, and it frightened all of us half to death. Everybody was breathing heavy. I don't think anybody wasn't a little scared. No one should ever get used to getting shot at. As we made our way deeper into the country towards Rose Hill, we began to hit a few of the dead. The train splattered into them. The blood splattered up against the front, going through the broken, shattered window on the cab door. Good Lord, Trevor called out. That thing was juicy. Do you see all that stuff? The man we had met back in El Dorado looked at him with a scornful face. I got kids, man. Sorry, he said. Just saying. How close to Rose Hill are we anyway? This GPS doesn't exactly zoom in. Man looked. Maybe 30 minutes? 30 minutes maybe. I mean, we were hauling tail just a little bit ago before he throttled down. The good news is we're really close. Bad news is we're starting to run low on fuel. We'll probably make it out. We could probably make it outside of Rose Hill. God forbid anything bad happens, and keep going. We can also coast on the speed we got going now. I don't want to go too fast because if we're going to be checking it out, I don't want to be zooming through there. Number one, we'll look like the enemy, and they'll probably shoot at us just like those Andover jackasses. Trevor called out. My dad sat down. Trevor, I think you're right. It's weird. But it's definitely a predicament. How so, Dad? Well, think about it. They're as crazy as those gun-toting rednecks back there. God knows what'll happen to us if we stop completely. It's been quite some time. We waited a little while before we left. Wait a minute. Where are you guys from? The man called up. We're from New York. Boy. How long did you wait? Well, luckily the CDC and doctors like me and many of the military had focused there for quite some time. The disease has been spreading rampant all over the United States. Some time passed. I'm not sure how other states went. New York's a central hub. It's important. Sure, some of those things were in the streets, but it didn't get bad until about a couple weeks ago. At least, not horribly out of hand. I think that's the bitch, Trevor said. How so? I mean, hell. We lost TV after about a week of this all happening. Shit hit the fan really quick. My dad looked at the man and his two daughters. What happened here in Kansas? Well, to be honest, I'm from Oklahoma, but we got the hell out of there. You see, in other countries, from what I read in the newspaper, they fell pretty quick, especially the third world countries. Apparently this disease had been around for a couple months before everything started really going crazy. A couple weeks passed here in Kansas, and the military bases were getting flooded with all kinds of refugees. Wait a minute, you mean to tell me this stuff was happening before New York fell? Yeah, kid, they were trying to keep it isolated. It hit the Midwest pretty damn hard, surprisingly. Luckily, we don't have the population density that New York did, which explains why the damn government focused so much on keeping you guys safe. And I thought anybody with half a brain would get the hell out of there. Pretty much I was right. He looked at us. Kansas didn't have those resources. A lot of people were outsourcing. A lot of the military were leaving on massive C-130s, outsourcing them to other places that were more important. Government operated for quite some time, but eventually things crumbled apart there in Wichita. I left Oklahoma because my wife was actually on business here in Wichita. She worked for Cessna. I'm not totally sure what she did, but we came to her. She couldn't leave the city. They'd completely shut it out. She was in McConnell. We were there for a good couple days, and then everything fell apart. Weeks passed, and we were pretty much just scrounging off what we could find. McConnell pretty much fell a couple weeks later after that. Started running low on supplies. That and some people hoarded it. That and the roving gangs started to take over. It was like the Wild Wild West. Half the time, people were shooting over the stupidest reasons. Well, hell, I even saw a man get killed over a bunch of toilet paper hoards he had stashed. It was a bad scene for pretty much anybody in a smaller flyover state. Just didn't have the resources. The reason why it was kept pretty quiet is because the government didn't want to feel like they were hopeless. That would cause riots. No news came out of New York other than hearsay. Nobody believed that crap. Tall tales travel fast when people are panicking. My heart sank. So you guys were suffering a lot longer before. Oh, hell yeah. Things fell pretty dang quick for us. A whole month ahead of you guys. My dad was confused. It's hard to believe that a big city was able to maintain itself. Well, when you guys had as much military presence as you had, and as much CDC focusing on protecting the hub of the world, I mean, it makes perfect sense. But as for us, sure we have aircraft companies, but that can be outsourced somewhere else safer. They figured if they saved the bigger cities, that would be a bigger triumph. So all the littler crap like us wouldn't seem as important. A lot of governments actually stuck to doing that, which I thought was stupid. Instead of bolstering the defenses in the country, they said, I asked the colonel, and they said, quote unquote, that if they bolstered, the country places and places out in the flyover states, people would swarm that area, and it would end up doing a lot more damage than it would good. But if they bolstered the big places, then it would be no reason. I could see the logic, my dad said, but even so, it's stupid. And possibly more dangerous. Hell yeah, he said. A lot of people were leaving the big cities. Wichita fell pretty damn quick. God bless them. Some of the local government, Chamber of Commerce, ordered some of the military people to hold on to a lot of the power stations. We had power for about a couple weeks before it all started to go down. Apparently, people were more worried about their families than they were about their duty. A lot of those places were quickly abandoned. Good pickings, too. Plenty of supplies. Most people didn't go near them because they figured there was still military presence, so they didn't bother trying to rob them. But eventually some people got more wise and realized that they weren't even guarded anymore anyways. There were rolling blackouts in the lower income areas of Wichita, and it led to all kinds of problems. Shoot, a bunch of those poor folks just ended up getting into fights with the police that were just trying to stop the dead. Now they got a bunch of poor white trash running around trying to kill them because the ghetto is out of power. But then again, I could see where it was bad on both sides. They tore themselves apart from the inside out. Me and my two girls were lucky enough to get out, but my wife, she got bit on the way out. She just stood there. She told us it was okay, and God knows, my daughters didn't want to leave her, but we had to go. I don't know what happened to her after that. I do and I don't. There's no cure for this crap. At least, not that I know of. He looked at my father, hoping for something. My dad shook his head. We know about as much as you do. As a matter of fact, you've enlightened us. Sam and Trenton didn't know what to say. Pretty shitty of the government, I thought. Then again, who could prepare you for this? Want to know the sick part about it? The man said, first place we stopped was the hospital. The elderly and sickly kids in all those units and cancer treatment areas. The disease is pretty much in everybody. That's the consensus. Everybody's got it by now. Sickly and the weak got it first and became the strong and the deadly. If you had cancer and you were already dead, so what? You're already carrying that stuff. You get up, you bite somebody. It's curtains for them within a couple hours, maybe a few minutes. Depends on your metabolism and your body and whatever that crap is. So it gestates differently, my father said. Yeah, some people dead within 10 minutes. Others, a couple hours. It just depends, ultimately, on what kind of shape they're in. We saw a similar thing back in Sinai. Some people in Sinai would get sick, stay sick for quite some time, and bleed out the eyes. Yeah, mostly elderly people, right? Yeah, and the sick, children. It was a mess. Try not to think about it, but you're right. Well, I don't mean to mess up this little enlightening conversation about how cancer patients are the cause of all of these diseases, but we're almost there. I can see them. See what? He began to throttle down. He said, now, nobody move quick, because it looks like those boys are locked and loaded. The train screeched to a halt. The radio kicked on. What's going on up there? Why have we stopped? Do not get out of the car. Sam grabbed their guns. Hold on, boys, Trevor put his hand back towards them. That's not a good idea. Our new friend grabbed his girls and took them towards the back of the cab. My father again took off a white shirt, placed it on a stick, and waved it out the window. That's close enough, the man called out. You guys made it quite a ways in here, and I'm surprised you didn't just speed through. We're lucky, though. We have a train just parked over yonder. You would have slammed into that, killed everybody in the back of that train car you're hauling. At least I assume there's people back there. Now, come out one at a time with your hands up. If you got kids, don't try anything stupid. You have no reason to shoot any of you. We want to know some things. I said get out now! He racked the gun. Let's do what he says. If you have weapons, we're not going to disarm you, but if you try anything, we will gun you down. Keep them above your head. Oh man, I tell you, I was nervous. We slowly filed out the front. And he took Trenton and Sam and him. Alright, you two big boys, I want you to open up that side. Come on! Two of the men followed them, pointing their guns towards them. Trenton and Sam heaved open the massive sliding door on the rail car. Looks like you boys went through a war. Someone shot at you. My dad spoke up. My name is James Whitman. I'm a doctor. So what? There's a lot of those around here, the man called out. My dad nodded. Yes, of course. We went through El Dorado. We were coming towards Augusta and we got shot at. That's no surprise. They locked that down pretty quick as soon as all this started happening. Where are you guys from? Well, me, my wife, Martha, who's in the back there, and my boy here are from New York. I know what you're going to say, we've come a long way, but we're hoping that McConnell was still holding out. There's a CDC, somebody told me that there was a CDC fort. There was for a time. The place fell pretty quick. Like the news probably didn't tell you New York boys that we fell pretty quick. The disease spread through here because all the resources were being outsourced to all the major cities. Places like Kansas didn't stand a chance because we didn't have enough to defend ourselves. But it's the Midwest, I said. Everybody has guns here. Not exactly true, kid. Cliches don't always mean fact. Does everybody come out? He leaned over yelling. Yeah, that's everybody. Alright, have those two boys keep standing there. All the families walked forward. Several men started to come out of the bushes. We had you surrounded for quite some time. We were in position. The man said, I have kids. I don't want any trouble. Listen up, friend. We don't want to hurt anybody. But we don't want us getting hurt in the process. And we have you surrounded. Y'all try anything stupid, funny? That includes all you families back there and everybody else here. He looked at Sergeant Calloway and Private McPherson. You two, where are you from? We're not from this state. We followed this group. Our place fell a long time ago. We've stuck with them ever since. There were more of us, but we lost a few people back in Ohio. Good Lord, it's just a big old hodgepodge of people. You guys plan on taking the Route 66 or Romantic Drive? Is that what you expected? My dad spoke up, sir. Don't mean any disrespect, but no. We just figured a state like this would probably be safer. The smaller the population, the easier. You got one thing right. There was a smaller population. But it eventually skyrocketed because everybody was wanting to head to the middle of the damn United States. Getting away from the major sea shores. You guys thought you had it bad in that big city? This place fell 3 times as fast. With less of the people. Now we've got gangs running around. We just got attacked not a day ago. By who? Biker gangs. You're not a part of them, are you? Sir, we are clearly not bikers. I spoke up. We're not even from this state. They killed a couple of our boys, and we can't be too sure. Come on. Take you into town. Keep your hands up. He called back. The people started filing behind us in a straight line, hands raised high with our rifles over our heads. Again, don't try anything stupid. As we started to walk towards what I assumed to be a big church, a few of the men had started to file out from the grass where they were hiding. Keep your eyes forward, let's go. We made our way into the church. It was fortified on the front with a bunch of sandbags and plywood and corrugated steel. We've turned this church into a community center. One of the men called. Feel free to just sit here and relax for a minute. We're going to go talk to some people. We sat in the front foyer. I looked around and there were some people wandering around looking at us, shooting daggers at us. There were even a few teenagers looking at us, laughing. It's good to see that a bunch of America's youth survived, I thought. God, I hope we don't get led into a ditch and shot. My dad was nervous. A man came out, and several other guys came out too. They pointed their guns at us, and one man collected all of our rifles and set them into a pile on top of a table. Trevor said, now hang on a second. What? You said we could keep our guns. Right now we're in a secure area. We're going to take your guns. If you fight, we will shoot you. Don't want to have to do that. What's going on here? My dad called out. My mom got close to me. Help me. Nothing bad's going to happen, Mom. I'm not worried about it. She said, it's okay. I guess she was saying it more for herself than for me. One of the men came out. You people look hungry, he called out. Who's in charge here? Tucker looked. Look, we really don't have someone in charge. Trevor looked at me, and then he bumped my dad above the leg with his foot, still keeping his hands above his head. Come on. James, you're in charge here. We all know it. That would be me. Dr. James Whitman. Nice to meet you. He lowered one of his hands to shake it. The man looked at him and shook his hand. Alright, boys, there's no reason to aim at them. If they're going to try anything, it's stupid. At least stupid for them. It's a pleasure to meet all you. My name's Pastor Jim. I preached here. Just here, I guess I run the committee for helping people. This town has been locked down for quite some time. You can see parts of the walls, my dad said. Yeah. We put those up a couple months after. A bunch of people swarmed here, and we decided to, instead of kicking people out, we were going to band together. We've been semi-successful. We built walls around certain areas, walled up more neighborhoods, and since we had gated communities around here, we were able to turn those into fortresses. Town has been doing pretty good, but some marauders came through and shot at us pretty bad. Killed a bunch of our boys and held services yesterday, but a bunch of them got riled up. Now a massive amount of our boys are heading down there to attack them. Oh my god. My dad called out. How many? A little over 600. 600? Trevor stood up. You gotta be kidding me. You guys have that many people around here? We have a bit more than that. They only took about half. There's around 2,000 people here right now. Has been surviving that much. Everybody pulls their weight. It's not easy, including the kids, but we get by. We get by. You could hear a bunch of people running and talking outside. The glass was blown out so it was easier to hear. They're back, a couple of people called. You could hear horns honking. They're opening the main gate. Let's meet them there. We were told to wait in the foyer. We sat there for what felt like hours. Eventually some people came back. They were injured and wounded, and they were hauled through the front door. They were taken into the chapel area where we had started to set up our own little camp. There was a lot of men, bandages, gauze, and blood everywhere. My dad raised his hand. I'm a doctor. I can help out here. Good, one of the other men said. We could use all we can get. He shook hands with a few of the other doctors and makeshift doctors and turned the chapel into a triage. Some people were screaming, and some were moaning, and some were completely unresponsive. Blood was everywhere, and it was absolutely horrifying. Jesus, some of the people called, what happened out there? We decimated them. We blew the holy hell out of their fortress, one of them called. We shot them up. We even used some commandeered artillery and some explosives just to soften them up a bit. We surrounded them in squads, and we were able to kill a lot of them. But man, they fought back, and they shot a lot of our boys. These are just some of the only survivors we could find. Others were shot dead, bled out, or bitten, turned into some of those disgusting things. You wouldn't believe what those sick bastards were doing there. What were they doing? My dad called out. The man leaned up off his cot. His arm was shot really bad. He winced. Holding his shoulder, he said, They were trafficking people. I know that sex trafficking is a big deal in a lot of cities, but I didn't think it was this bad. They continued to do it. Instead of getting people to help them, they were using people. Had a massive stockpile of food, so we got a couple deuce and a halves loaded completely to the brim. Bringing back a lot of our guys. First squad took it the worst. And, of course, third and fourth squad made it in, but they had a couple holdouts. We lost a couple. We were going to interrogate a couple of them, but one of our leaders decapitated a couple of them. Lost his damn mind. We have him shackled up right now, but we couldn't have seen this coming. He was young. How old was he, I asked. It's not really all that important. Right now, we're having a couple of the elders of the group talk to him. Jesus, I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have done the same thing had I actually been down there. I heard horror stories. 2 kids buckled down to some wireframe beds. They'd been tortured, car batteries, and everything like that. The whole shebang. It looked like a Vietnam prison camp. A bunch of people were still alive, but they were emaciated. They looked like they were POWs. A lot of those children were abused, and even some of the parents, the older women, had their teeth pulled out. It was horrible. We took them to the other triage unit at the other church across town. Man. Nightmares. You want to talk about nightmares? My ears are still ringing from the blasts. Who are you people? I haven't seen you around, he said, as he perked up. Kinda just got here. Oh yeah? All of a sudden we could hear people, a commotion, yelling and hollering. Holy crap, he's escaped! A few of the men who came in, their heads were bleeding. Son of a bitch hit us in the head and knocked us out. We couldn't stop him. Who? It's Jesse again. Man, Trenton and Sam perked up. Jesse? As in Jesse Hill? Yeah, the crazy bastard knocked our heads against the wall. One of them was bleeding really bad. My dad began to tend to him. What happened? Trenton said. Where is he? The son of a bitch escaped down the road with a full pack of gear and a gun. Chances are we can stop him. A few of the men began to run out with loaded guns. He's dangerous. What happened? The son of a bitch completely lost it out on the battlefield. He ended up killing several of the people we were going to interrogate. He'd been slipping for a while. We noticed he'd been stealing drugs and... I don't know. We put too much faith in a young guy like that. What do you mean? He was one of the few people to step up and lead the charge against those people. I guess it wasn't the best idea to send him in. The guy already didn't seem right. We're fairly new here, so he didn't trust us. He sat in that room for hours. Felt like he said. When we came in and started talking to him, he questioned us and then got the upper hand on us, knocked us out. I remember seeing him run down the hallway with all of his gear being thrown on. He even stole one of the bags. Oh my god, Dad said. Britt and Sam looked at each other. Where did he go? I wouldn't go after him. What, do you know the guy? Yeah, we're friends with him. Doesn't that beat all? One of the men said. Small world, after all. I wouldn't take a chance on going after him. Chances are he's going to get shot. What do you mean? Look, when I said he lost it, he slit the throat of one of the guys and screamed directly into his face until the guy bled to death, tossed him by his head onto the ground. Took several guys just to take him down and bring him back. We had him in handcuffs. We took them off of him because he said he'd cool down, but in reality, he's just escaping. Where the hell will we go? I don't know. At this point, some of the kids that had overheard this were all riled up. We could hear whispering. Trenton and Sam made their way towards the kids, asking them questions. It looked like it was affecting everybody. Everybody was losing their mind. I guess even people that step up live long enough to see themselves go crazy. Not sure what we're gonna find here. I'm not even sure if we're gonna live here much longer. My only hope is that somehow, some way, we're able to get through this. Now I'm not too sure.